MAPPA has been on an absolute tear lately, as they are one of the biggest anime studios in the world. If you don't recognize the name, then you probably heard of their shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan the final season, and Chainsaw Man, just to name a few. MAPPA has been successful in creating fantastic anime adaptations of the most popular manga on the planet, but how did they start? And how did they achieve such notoriety? Well, the answer will most definitely surprise you. MAPPA would not be what it is today without Masao Maruyama, who's produced iconic anime films over the years and helped bring up big-time directors like Mamoru Hosoda and Satoshi Kon. He's an honorary member of the beloved anime convention Otakon, which, if you haven't been, you should definitely check out. And more importantly, co-founded Studio Madhouse, who is responsible for popular shows like Trigun, Death Note, and even Hunter x Hunter. Because of this, the studio grew into something more corporate than the 70-year-old had wanted, which is one of the reasons why he co-founded the Maruyama Animation Produce Project Association, or MAPPA, in 2011. He also really wanted to get the ball rolling to make the now highly acclaimed film In This Corner of the World, which ran into financial difficulties at Madhouse. You'd think this movie would have been the first work MAPPA would have released, but you'd be wrong. Several titles released beforehand, like the Shinichiro Watanabe directed series Kids on the Slope and Terror in Resonance, the third season of the boxing classic Hajime no Ippo, and the supernatural harem-like comedy Punchline. In This Corner of the World ran into a lot of production problems, but it finally released in 2016. Set during the 1930s and 40s, this film chronicles the life of a young married woman named Suzu who moves away from Hiroshima as she tries to take care of her family. This movie won tons of awards, including the country's top prize at the Japan Academy, and has been praised greatly on its portrayal of war from a perspective lesser seen, that of regular people. 2016 was a major turning point for MAPPA, just as the studio was gaining traction. Maruyama resigned as CEO in April of that year in order to create Studio M2 so that he could focus on personal projects. He passed the job to promising young producer Manabu Otsuka. Later that year, the studio released Yuri on Ice, which quickly became a worldwide phenomenon for its approach on the portrayal of LGBTQ+ and mental health issues. The story revolves around a Japanese figure skater named Yuri who decides to quit the sport, but runs into his idol Victor who wants to coach him out of retirement. Yuri on Ice is a pretty good series, and much to its acclaim is hailed for its realistic approach to Yuri and Victor's complicated relationship. 2016 wasn't all rose-tinted flowers, though, as reports started to emerge on the working conditions at MAPPA during the production of that series, and they were less than ideal, with very tight deadlines and low wages. This would be a recurring problem for the studio as they grew bigger. The post-Maruyama period for MAPPA released a resume-worthy list of anime, like Kakegurui in 2017, Banana Fish in 2018, the readaptation of Osamu Tezuka's 1969 classic Dororo in 2019, and an absolute favorite of mine, the post-apocalyptic dark fantasy Dorohedoro in 2020. 2020 was the next breakout year for MAPPA, as they released a whopping 8 anime titles within the calendar year, and while most were pretty unforgettable, there were a couple standouts. Attack on Titan the final season was the most anticipated since MAPPA announced they would take over producing the anime from Wit Studio. While some people had issues with the show, most deservedly how they are dragging out the ending by making at this point 50 million parts now? Jujutsu Kaisen is the other anime that stood out, and this supernatural shonen was a surprising success with its gorgeous animation, wild fight scenes, crazy characters, and amazing EP. At this point, MAPPA has ascended to a new level of notoriety, but the working conditions continue to get worse as animators, directors, and producers alike have all reported short deadlines and long working hours, and extremely high expectations. Unfortunately, this systemic problem has no immediate answer, but the studio has made improvements to combat this, like opening a new studio in Tokyo with the aim to improve the working environment for its teams. 2022 was the year of Chainsaw Man, which had become the most highly anticipated anime of all time, and much is because of the celebrated reputation of mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto. While Chainsaw Man may not have lived up to most people's lofty expectations, the series is still a very darn good one and has built the studio's profile even higher. In 2023, MAPPA released the second season of yet another popular anime, Vinland Saga, which has received strong reviews. The first half of the third part of Attack on Titan, the final season, which, just saying that, is nearly as ridiculous as the studio actually doing it, and I bet you can't say that fast 3 times. First half of the third part of Attack on Titan, the final season. The first half of the third part of Attack on Titan, the final season. First half of the third part of Attack on Titan, the final season. I guess I get a B or an A? I guess. I don't know. Thankfully, MAPPA is planning to release the last half of the third part of Attack on Titan, the final season, later this year, so I don't have to say that ridiculousness anymore, and collectively, we can just call it the last season. Hell's Paradise is another great series that started in early April, and there's more on the horizon for MAPPA, like Jujutsu Kaisen the second season, and movies for Yuri on Ice and Zombieland Saga. The possibilities are truly endless for the studio, because who knows what giant anime IP they will take on next? Maybe One Piece? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Look, it could happen. Besides Ghibli, there isn't an anime studio as successful internationally right now as MAPPA, and they've only been around for 12 years. It's also important for MAPPA to continue making inroads and treating their employees better, because if they stop trying, people will leave and the entire studio could fall apart. MAPPA was born out of the simplest of reasons, but has grown into something much greater than I'm sure any of the founders, including Maruyama himself, ever expected. With consistently high quality stories and the most popular anime out there, MAPPA is the juggernaut of the anime industry right now, and seemingly shows no signs of slowing down. Now, if you got anything to say, I'd love to hear from you and talk some more about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. You can send me an email, or you can find me on Twitter or Facebook. Oh, and one more thing. If you like what you're watching, feel free to subscribe by clicking that platypus to keep up with my latest videos. Thanks for watching, and stay nerdious.